It's live now. It's going to be 10-second delays. This is where Marcus does his sound check.
Check 1, 2, checkmate, King 2. This is Whitework over.
We got you. We got you. Still not live yet. Still not live.
I think we are, Mr. Brown.
Yeah,
Okay,
live,
let's get
man.
this. We got to get this muted now here. Got to get muted and get down here. Okay, we'll count down here. 3, 2, 1, and welcome into DroneNation for 4/18/2022. We're going to call this the the income tax special here. Taxes were due in the U.S. today, and if you have any questions about getting your taxes in, Marcus will be fielding questions later in the show here. How to pay less income tax. So,
Yeah, let me tell you, Ron. Over $7,000 was deducted from my bank account today by the IRS, so I'm probably not the guy to ask.
Scratch that last comment here. Hey, one thing before we get the show rolling here, everybody's probably can see the show notes, but I got a last minute update here. I got this from our good friends over at Drone DJ. As of right now, the DJI Mini 2 flymore kit falls to an all-time low of $479 at GameStop, and the Action 2 is also at $319 at GameStop. You know, I didn't even, with all the stores going out of business, COVID, I didn't realize GameStop was even still around. So, but they used to be on every block. Do you have GameStop up in Canada, Shawn?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not much of a gamer, so I know we have that. There's a gaming store. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, I really don't know. I don't really video games.
They're in the U.S. They're kind of in every strip mall, and you pass or whatever. They're usually tiny little stores, but anyhow, if you want to fly DJI Mini 2 flymore, you can't beat that $479, can you, Marcus?
GameStop is that like for video games or?
They have mostly video games, but they do have other stuff in there.
Yeah. Yep, they do have some other things, and
they got popular because you could go to trade in your old games.
Yeah,
that used to be their real niche or whatever, So, but anyhow, this isn't the game show here. So, let's get into our agenda tonight. It's regular co-host Marcus and DeMarco here, and Shawn from Air Photography has joined us all the way from chilly Canada. Of course, it may be warm up there by now, but we're mostly going to focus. We're mostly going to focus on the Mini 3 tonight. It's been a lot happened, a lot of like leaked photos and whatever. And Shawn's been on top of this. He's produced a lot of like short videos with almost a daily leaks and whatever. So, but before we get into all that, we're going to go around the panel and catch up with everybody. Marcus, how you been? I know you got to race a little bit on Friday. How'd that go?
I did. I was out in the Corvette at the drag strip on Friday. It was funny. It was 70 degrees here today, but that day it was in the 40s. So they limited us to 1/8 mile. And I got to be honest with you, I struggled a little bit and got eliminated in the first round, but it's always fun to go racing in that Corvette. Now, with regard to flying, I went out on the Boise River yesterday with the Mavic 3. Had a really fun flight. I mean, that Mavic 3 is just such a joy to fly. But then, we're all been, of course, talking about the upcoming Mini 3. So I took the Mini 2 out today and flew it around the park. It was a very warm day in the 70s. However, we had a lot of wind. I think like 17, 18 mile hour sustained winds. Again, the cool thing about that Mini 2 is that it can handle those kind of winds. There's no way I would have flown the Autel Nano or some of the other mini drones in that kind of wind.
And Marcus, in your latest video, you explained that's because of the pitch angle the Mini 2 gets. Is that correct?
That 40-degree pitch angle, as opposed to like the Autel Nano only has a 30-degree pitch angle. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, there could be motors and some other things, but for sure that pitch angle is how it's able to handle the wind. But anyway, long story short, I had a really great flight with it today. I just finished editing the video, and so I'll have that out soon. So yeah, that's about what I've been up to.
DeMarco, we know you were on the road last week in Dallas for a convention. Did you get to do any flying out there, or just strictly business?
No, strictly business. Last year when I went, I I took my drone though and never got a second to fly. So this year I didn't even take it, and I was right too because I didn't even get a chance to fly it. But I came back on Wednesday. I did some flying with my brother with his SEO. He was still here,
Oh yeah,
and I was
yeah.
telling Johnny on the phone today, watching him fly the SE, like the look on his face was the look that I had a couple of years ago, like when I first started flying. He was just so excited and loved it, and he flew a battery and then came inside and looked at his videos and charged it up again and flew another one. So I mean that was the only flying that I did with
You got him hooked already, huh?
this brother is hooked. I mean, I told him, I said, listen, enjoy this as long as you can. Don't go out and get something else until you are just ready for something new. So
A
yeah,
great starter drone. Yes,
yeah.
yes. So, Shawn, besides running down Mavic, Mini 3 rumors, what have you been up to?
Not too much. I did a quick flight this morning. We've had fairly mild weather here, but we did get some snow overnight. That nice wet snow that kind of sticks to everything. So
Oh yeah,
I went and took the Mavic 3 out today. Just trying to catch up on some videos. Just I know it's going to be busy in the next couple weeks with Mavic or Mini 3 videos, I should say. So there's some other videos I want to get out before then. So I've been trying to get them all finished up. But that's about it.
good, good, good. Okay, let's get into the agenda of the show a little bit. I don't have this on the list, but if we can circle back to it later in the show, DeMarco brought this up in the chat today about they started a new football league in the U.S. and football down here is not soccer. I mean, it's a different thing. But anyhow, then they use drone cameras in it. But what I posted the story in the DroneNation Facebook page. Let's try and circle back to that a little bit later on because it's kind of an interesting story. And if you see the little video DeMarco shared with us, it is quite thrilling. But okay, just I think on the 15th of just 5 days ago or 3 days ago at this point, both At Deal Drones and Jasper Ellens started leaking photos, big war photos of the Mini 3. And they still were those kind of photos. They weren't actually crystal clear, but within less than 24 hours, they started posting the high resolution versions of these photos. So, I mean, we can see the drone and Mini 3 in full detail now,
Mm-hmm.
almost from all angles or whatever. And, I'll go around and these, I named who leaked these things, and you can go. I posted these things on DroneNation. Posted links to these people's Twitter's page because I want them to get the views and clicks on it because they're the ones that put this stuff out there. But and Shawn has it on in all his videos too that he has on the Mini 3. But it's around the panel here, whoever wants to go first. What were your impressions of seeing these high resolution photos of the Mini 3 for the first time?
You want me to go, Ron?
You look like you're ready.
It's obviously it looks like it's going to be an impressive product. First off, but secondly, when those first pictures came out, it looked like a flipping cartoon or something. I mean, it looked like something that somebody photoshopped together to so I was one of those guys saying, "Oh, that's not it," but sure enough, that's what it is. So. That's an interesting looking camera on the front of it, so that should be interesting. And obviously, you can see the obstacle avoidance sensors, which people have been asking for on mini drones, and obviously, Autel has already done that. And so we should be, hopefully, see some tracking as well. So it just looks fascinating. And the controller, that's kind of a big deal too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all in. Yeah.
Somebody made a comment that the gimbal guard looks much bigger on the Mini 3 versus the Mini 2, which would indicate maybe a bigger camera than what we're used to.
Well, in some of those angles that were leaked in the photos, you can see the camera really sticks out quite a ways. It's like really long compared to what they normally are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, people speculated they showed one of those angles where it looked like on the back side of the optical avoidance sensors, it looked like it was kind of canals cut. So maybe the same that's the back the back sensors of the drone are actually in the front, that they're kind of where the placement of the optical avoidance sensors is going to cover both ways. That's just somebody speculating by seeing the photos. Did any of you guys notice those photos?
I
I
saw
saw
that.
that. Yeah, go ahead, DeMarco.
No, I mean, I'm guessing that those are the rear. There's rear and there's front, and they're just using sort of the same spot or same hole to put it in. I mean, that's new. Like we didn't see that coming either. But
So, and I know, some people were, kind of taken aback. I'm skipping the story 4 already. That it looks like the drone, lands on the ground using just his body and not the
Mhm.
arms, as we've seen. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. The Mini 2, the front arms touch the ground, right? And go ahead, Marcus.
Looks like the FPV drone, eh?
Yeah, good one, Marcus.
Kind of like how the Skydio 2 lands. The Skydio 2 lands on the battery, so there's no arms that touch the ground. I had a couple people mention in the one video that they think it looks like it's going to be unstable when it takes off and lands, but yeah, the Skydio 2 lands perfectly every time, right? And it doesn't.
Yeah.
Have, so
I've never seen this guy
should be fine
flip
now.
over. Yeah.
It should make it simpler to hand catch. I mean, not that I do that, but
Yeah. And
Oh,
people
come on, tell us
speculated
the
too
truth.
about the antennas because
fingers.
the antennas on the Mini 2 are located on the legs, the landing legs on the front arms. So where would the antennas go in this Mini 3?
Okay, there's Ron trying to get controversial already.
Yeah. People already worried it's not going to have good signal.
Well, we will see.
It's going to have OcuSync 3. I expect it to be phenomenal. I mean, I don't, I wherever they put the antennas, I'm sure they're in a perfectly appropriate place that it's going to be just fine. But it's interesting to me, Ron. I wouldn't have thought of that until you brought it up. However, obviously, there's people out there that are dissecting that thing so closely that they would think of something like that.
Yeah, that's not original thought by me. That's just reading somebody else's thought. My only, I mean, not concerned, but that it lands on his body just so that the gimbals, high enough that it won't touch the ground when it lands.
Yeah.
Well, and you think after the release of the Mavic 3 and all the problems they've had with that, they wouldn't want to repeat that. So I'm sure they've tested it thoroughly, make sure that there's no issues.
Yeah.
I don't have this on the story list, Shawn, but I'm going to throw this one at Shawn. Do you have any idea at all whether the Mini 3 will use the same GPS system, software, and module that the Mavic 3 did, and thus repeat the slow GPS acquisition issue? Or
I don't know anything about that. I'm assuming they're not going to want to repeat that. Like, that's caused a lot of problems. So hopefully not. Hopefully they have that figured out.
Hey, Shawn, I got a question. So with your Mavic 3, and maybe I should know this from watching your videos, but I don't remember, but how much of an issue have you had with satellite acquisition with the Mavic 3?
I was sitting around 7 minutes. I think it was 7 minutes, 6 minutes before. Wow. And now I can get it in about 2 minutes, depending where I am. If I fly from my backyard, it still takes about 5 minutes, but all the drones take quite a while here just because there's a lot of buildings around me. But yeah, it did improve it. It's not perfect yet, but I did get a little bit of improvement. Yeah. But yeah, my Mini 2, the Air 2S, I can have a lock in like 30 seconds with those drones if I'm, out in the open.
Yeah, I did a test when I was in Florida for the Mini 2 just because I never even timed the drone before the Mavic 3 came out, and my Mini 3 got it like in 35 seconds or something like that. But the same exact location, I did the Mavic 3, and it was, it was maybe a minute longer, so it still was acceptable.
So Ron, now hold it here. You said your Mini 3 got it in 30 seconds. So
sorry, I'm under DNA on that. I meant Mini 2.
I still say it's got to have something to do with that GLONASS being removed, because really that's I know whether they're using different hardware or not. I don't know about that, but that's the main thing that's different on there, right? So you would have to assume that that's part of the cause.
Yeah, and could that have been
because GLONASS is Russia, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm assuming they have tons of satellites over, the U.S. and Canada spying. So you know, a
They
lot
might
of
as well-
GPS stuff or what, you know, so you would think that that has to have something to do with it, that with GLONASS being removed, you know, that's why it's maybe not perhaps as quick.
As far as I know, the GLONASS is replaced by the Chinese satellites.
Yeah.
by
But,
the-
you know, it's a totally different network. So if they don't have as many satellites or they're not as, you know, whatever, I don't know how it works. But, you know, to me, that's one of the main, you know, it's the only drone that has removed GLONASS. So, and it's the one that's having the problems. Because when I think it was with I can't remember if it was the Mini 2 or the Air 2S, when I did my first impressions flight, I had made a comment that I'd never connected to satellites so fast and so many. And that was the first one that they introduced, the Galileo, I believe it was.
Right.
Because they only used to use GPS and GLONASS in most of the drones. And then, was it the Air 2S or the Air 2?
I'm trying to remember that introduced Galileo. I can't remember either, Shawn.
But I had the best satellite connection when they introduced that, like quick. And, you know, I was always sitting around 21, 23 satellites, whereas before I would only get to a maximum of 15 or 16. So, yeah, it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I heard that somebody has a theory that maybe not a theory, that they're going to launch 2 more Galileo satellites in the near future. So maybe that'll help too. Sorry to take us down the whole rat hole again of Mavic 3's GPS issues that been beaten to death on a lot of issues. But I hope that the Mini 3 does not have the issue at launch, because I'd hate to see all the focus of the Mini 3 go to that satellite issue if it is there, you know. So let's hope. Lon made a comment that it won't be, that they're going to use different, I think he said hardware. So hopefully he's right about that. So okay. Another thing here too. Last week on this show right here, we put a big price list up for the Mini 3, and we had, you know, the Mini 3 Standard Edition and being one price point, and the Mini Pro being a different set of price points. Well, Jasper Ellens leaked on Friday, I think it was Friday, that it won't be 2 different minis. There's only going to be one mini, the Mini 3 Pro. It won't be a standard one. And now the new price list for you know, according to Jasper, for the Mini 3 Pro, be $699 for the standard kit, just the drone, battery, and controller. $949 for a flymore kit, and $1249 for the kit that comes with the advanced controller with the screen built in. The only thing nobody says in these things, if that kit is also the flymore kit and the controller, or that's just the drone, controller, and batteries. That's nobody actually.
I bet it's the
spells that
flymore
out.
probably.
So, Ron, what if they do? Remember with the Mavic 2, how it was kind of an a la carte system. You bought the drone and a battery, and then the flymore kit was just a completely separate package that you bought.
Yeah.
I wonder if they might do the same thing with this, and I'm wondering if it is compatible with OS 3. And for instance, somebody like yourself, Ron, really, honestly, if you have even the RCN1 controller, but like yourself, where you have the RC Pro, I wonder if they'll have just a bind and fly drone that you can buy without a controller. Just throwing it out there.
And that'll be the tough thing for somebody like me. If I make the decision to get the Mini 3 with that advanced controller with the screen, and a month later they come out and say, hey, the Mini 3 is compatible with the RC Pro, I just spent that extra money.
That's why I'm suggesting that maybe they'll have other options. That's kind of why I'm saying that, Ron, is that perhaps they'll have an option for you to just buy the drone.
I've never seen that before, but Shawn, which of these kits are you interested in, and what do you think of these price points?
I would probably go with the top one. Obviously, I want the best camera. Now, I hope they don't release 2 different models. I think it's going to kind of confuse people, like especially if you're a new drone pilot, you're going with a starter drone. I think it can get a little bit confusing. So I kind of hope that they don't. But on the other hand, it's like, you know, they're labeling it as a pro, which I think is unusual for a mini drone. Like it's not really a professional tool, so why would it have that pro, label? So, that kind of, puts credence to that. Maybe there will be two models, a regular and then a pro model. Because otherwise, why wouldn't they have just called it the Mini 3, kept with that same name? Why put a pro title on it?
The branding is a little confusing,
I'm-
because even the Mavic 3 is just the Mavic 3. It's not the Mavic 3 Pro.
Yeah.
And a lot of old timers say Pro used to indicate that the drone would be, out of the box, would be compatible with all the mapping apps and everything like that for, things that a professional, pilot makes. And somebody made the argument that's why the Mavic 3 didn't have the Pro moniker, because there was no enterprise, version or even enterprise software for it. But that stuff never really correlates from drone to drone. So very, very confusing.
Shawn, what I'm thinking, maybe they're not coming out with that lesser version now, but like they did with the Mini SE, like a year down the line or 6
Or
months, 8 months down the line, they'll come out with
the advanced.
Yeah.
And like that's been talked about on Twitter, you haven't seen any leaks of one that isn't labeled a pro.
Yeah.
So that's maybe that one isn't coming, but I don't know. I just kind of hope that they do release the one. I think they should just have one best quality they can have, and it's kind of like the Nano series too, right? I don't know what the point was of releasing the the non-plus one. Like, did they even sell any?
Nobody bought it, did they?
Yeah.
Who bought one?
Nobody
actually,
I know that doesn't live in Asia has the Nano standard.
Yeah.
Autel sent me one of the Nanos that weren't a plus, and they sent me one of the lights that weren't the plus to test out the vertical video. They have like all their beta firmware out now. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, why would you want to buy it? Like, it's
price. Yeah, that's it.
But
well, not the Nanos, but
yeah. But the thing is, if you're already committing to that, I kind of lost my train of thought there. If you're committing, to a nano drone because you want to save money, there's cheaper drones on the market. You can go to a Mini 2, at, like quite a bit less. So if that's why you're wanting to buy it, is price, you're going to go with a cheaper drone. People who are choosing to buy the Nanos because they want the extra features, the better camera. So why would they go to that middle one? They would just go right to the Nano Plus, because that's why they're spending that extra money. So I don't know. It's just kind of strange that they're doing that. But I do like that they're including that monitor, the controller with the monitor, because if you look on the forums and that, people are having a ton of problems with Android. Like some of the newest phones, they never work with the software. So people are, for DJI, it would work well because they're going to have less headaches, for tech support and that. People who don't know what phones are compatible, or they don't own the right type of phone, they don't have to worry about that,
Yeah. Plus that whole business of side loading the app on an Android product as opposed to being able just to go to the app store to get it. That's a whole nother kettle of fish too.
Now, what scares me about it though is what Ron was saying. Will the RC Pro work with it? I mean, since they're coming out with their own controller,
who knows? I mean, if it's OcuSync 3 or OS 3, they call it now, I guess. You would think that would be a fairly simple operation, and you would hope so, but who knows?
Yeah.
Now, do you know why they remove the Fly app from Android?
I was wondering that too. I've got no clue.
One of these regulations or the covered list, or does it have something to do with that? Or
I used to know the answer to this question, Shawn, when it happened, but I've already forgot what that reasoning was at this point.
Yeah, I always found that interesting, like why they did that.
Yeah. There's some talk in chatter already about speculation about what size camera sensor will this drone have on it. A lot of people hope for a 1-inch sensor, but some other people are saying it's at 1 over 1/3 sensor.
One over
Shawn, do you have
1.3.
any guesses what size sensor you think will be on this camera?
I'm going to say a 1/1.3, which translates to a kind of a 3/4 inch sensor.
I second that.
Yeah, I'm holding out for a 1 inch. I don't think they can do it, but I don't know. I'm hoping I get surprised. And
Shawn, I'm with you. I hope so too. That'd be awesome. That would be great.
Like we were kind of talking about before the stream, like in Canada, in the US, it's not so much of an issue because, the only difference is the registration fee, correct? Right. You still have to follow the same rules, but in Canada, if you don't want to get a license, you can just fly that. So, to have a good camera like that. But on top of that, even if you have your basic pilot certificate in Canada, you still can't fly around airports. So if you're using your drone for money, real estate or whatever, you then have to go to an advanced pilot certificate. But with the Mini, that would you don't have to worry about that then. Like if you have to take some aerial images of a house that's, only a mile away from an airport, you can put the Mini up then. So I'm really hoping that it's 1 inch, just, for that aspect.
Yeah, I wonder if it's not a 1 inch, you think it's a weight issue? You think it's the 1 inch sensor would draw too much power from the battery?
Both, I'll bet you.
Yeah, there's probably a whole, weight balance, power consumption to get the most flight time, processing speed.
Right. Hey, a little off the topic here. You know what I thought was interesting? We usually think of DJI as being first in a lot of things, and really we go all the way back to almost a year ago this time when Hubsan announced the Xeno Mini Pro, which had a lot of these same features, this same 1/1/3 sensor size, obstacle avoidance, all these advanced features on a mini drone. And of course, we know that didn't get out of the gate as well as we had hoped. I mean, I think Marcus and Shawn both reviewed that drone. And then Autel comes around in the fall and announces another super mini drone where they have the advanced camera, the obstacle avoidance, tracking, all the stuff that everybody wanted on their Mini too. So it takes DJI almost a year later than the Hubsan to come out with basically the same spec sheet that the Hubsan drone has. I kind of find that interesting that they kind of came on the tail end of this. I'm going to call it mini pro type of drone.
I got two comments there. Number one, I'll bet you the Mini 2 was still selling well enough that they weren't that particularly worried about it, and quite frankly, still performed so much better than those other drones that it was kind of a moot point. But number two, unlike some other manufacturers, they wanted to develop it and make sure that it was probably right out of the box. So I'll leave it at that.
Good thoughts. So okay, we covered one, two, three. Okay, here's three. But between all the leaks we heard over the weekend, AliExpress, people were able to dig a spec sheet up on AliExpress for the Mini 3, and some of the highlights were they were talking about 60 frames per second of 4K, which is a big ask for people in a mini drone. As far as I know, the Autel Evo was capped at 30 frames at 4K, and I think the Hubsan was too. Was that correct, Marcus?
Yeah, and Ron, that is a big deal, and I'll tell you why. Because I've had other drones that shoot in 60 frames per second, but I really didn't ever shoot in 60 frames in earnest until I got the Mavic 3, and I've been shooting a lot in 60 frames per second with that drone, and it does make a difference, particularly when you're in a turn or you're doing a yaw on a bank, where in 30 frames per second you'll get some blur, which I know people like that motion blur, but in 60 frames per second, to me, it looks so much smoother. That's just my humble opinion.
Shawn, is that 4K 60 a big deal to you if the drone does indeed have it?
Yeah, I actually, most of the time, that's what I do filming is 4K 60. I would prefer to have that flexibility to slow the footage down over the higher resolution. So I would love it if it had 4K 60. But the other interesting thing that was on that spec sheet was, and whether it's true or not, it said that it had 4 times optical zoom.
Yeah.
Not digital zoom, but optical. So that'll be pretty impressive. And that could be why maybe that camera is the size it is. Because I found it just stuck out quite a bit farther than a normal camera. So, maybe You know, and if they can pull that off in a mini drone, you know, 4x optical zoom, you know, that'll be pretty impressive.
You know,
especially
Shawn,
if you can optical zoom at 4K 60, because even our beloved Air 2S, you can't go above 4K 30 and use the zoom.
Yeah, but even that's still digital zoom. You know,
Yeah.
it's not optical zoom.
Yeah.
So you know, you can
Yeah.
get that 4x without any quality loss, and get a little bit creative too. So hopefully that was a correct spec.
would that be a game? That would be such a game changer. I'm totally with you. That would be phenomenal.
Hey, I assisted both you guys that have the Autel Nano Plus. Does that have optical zoom at all on it?
No, it's all digital.
It's all
Yeah,
digital.
the Nano Plus is all. It's just cropping in on the sensor. I'll be honest with you. People talk about the satellite time on the Mavic 3, and I think I've told you this before, Ron. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but one of my big disappointments in the Mavic 3 is when you are cropping in, you can go 4x on that main micro four thirds sensor. Man, I got to tell you, once you get past the 2x, it just doesn't look very good. It doesn't. And then when it pops to that upper camera, the 7 power zoom, that looks pretty darn good. And it's weird when you're zooming in and it pops to the upper camera, all of a sudden it gets clear again. In fact, I think we've talked about this before. I believe that the digital zoom on the Air 2S looks better than it does on the Mavic 3. What do you think about that one, Ron?
You know, I'm one of those people. I rarely go beyond the 2x zoom. You know, rarely when I'm doing most of my composition. So I find a 2x to be really good. You know, I don't really test, but you know, beyond anything beyond that, I'm just using it just to sort of, you know, like a special situation. I'm zooming in to look at something away, but not really as a cinematic a type of thing. But no, I mean, wouldn't that be something if the little Mini 3 had a better optical, you know, zoom than the big Mavic 3?
They'll sell a gajillion of them if it does.
Yeah. So, but no, Shawn brought up a great point that F4S optical is just as important to me as the 4K 60 is. And the one other big takeaway I saw was a 35-minute flight time, which I believe the Mini 2 states a 31-minute flight time. So we're going to get an additional 4 minutes, even with getting obstacle avoidance and active track and all the bells and whistles thrown, and we still gain some time. Any comments on the additional runtime?
I'll take it.
The flight time they can give is bonus.
Yeah,
That's exactly the word I was thinking of. Yeah, bonus.
Yeah,
I'm okay with 30 minutes. You know, like with the Mini 2, you know, the batteries are fairly cheap, you know, compared to some other drones. So, you know, buying extra batteries isn't too big of an issue.
right.
I think the Mini 3 batteries are going to be substantially more, because if you look at the price list, you know, going from the base model to a flymore combo, it has quite a bigger jump than with the Mini 2. So to me, that signifies that the batteries are costing more, because that's part of the biggest cost of those flymore combos are the batteries. So I think we're going to unfortunately see a fairly big price increase with the batteries too.
I think the batteries, when I say they're bigger, I don't necessarily mean in size, but I think they have more amps and stuff in them. So it's
how much are the batteries now? About $50 each for the Mini 2, or
I think there was something like that.
Yeah, not much more.
In Canada, they're a little cheaper. The drone stuff doesn't have as much tariffs on it, so everything's like, you know, with the Mavic 3s, everything's a couple $100 cheaper. But I think, yeah, last time I looked, they were around that price. Yeah. One thing I am hoping, like in the leaked photos, we've seen the, it looks like the camera can turn vertically. Now, that's not a big thing for me because I don't really film a lot in vertical, but I know there are a lot of people who do for social media. But one interesting thing, I got the Autel controller here, and is that on? Can you see that?
Yeah.
And they have an adapter, so when you're flying it and you put it into vertical mode where the whole sensor shifts, you can actually spin. Which way does it go here? You can spin your controller upwards like that. And the whole interface changes, so you know you can actually get a good look at what you're filming. So hopefully DJI does something like that with the the Fly app, I should say, that if you go into vertical mode, you know, that the interface can adapt properly.
Yeah, because it would look terrible if you have it.
Yeah, otherwise
in
you're
a
just
landscape,
looking
you
at
had
a
this tiny line in the middle. You're good point there. And you know, I was trying to follow on, but the camera on the Mini 3, it won't actually just do it through, you know, digital. The whole camera will spin around. Is that correct, Shawn?
Yeah, in that way it's not, you know, being cropped, you know, so you
Yeah.
get full resolution.
A la Hubsan. That's how Hubsan does it on their Mini.
Okay.
They just crop in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
you can do it if you don't buy this accessory. You can do it like that on the Autel too, but it's really hard to fly, right? Because everything is so small.
Yeah.
You know, this way you can get a good view. But I don't know how popular of a feature that will be. Most people hate the 9x16.
Yeah.
But
That's an Instagram superstar.
Or TikTok. TikTok
yeah.
and Instagram.
Hey,
Yeah.
let me backtrack just a second. This is to Shawn and Marcus, as they both have the Autel Nano. What was the battery time on the Nano? Was it less than the 35 minutes at the?
Yeah, not very long. I
Okay.
don't get a lot of battery time on that one. I don't remember exactly. Do you,
Okay.
Shawn? I don't remember.
But not 35 minutes less.
I think.
Yeah, I've never really tested it. Like I think I did a hover test with it once on my channel, but yeah, I've never really, you know, compared it to the Mini 2 to see which was better, and I can't think offhand what it's rated for.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but it was certainly no better than the Mini 2, and maybe even a little bit less.
I have 37 minutes in my head, but I don't know. I can't remember.
The one that has a lot of battery life,
the light was actually pretty good. You know, I got well over 30 minutes of flight time with it, I believe.
With which one, Shawn?
The light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a lot better than the Mini. I have a bad sometimes.
I was just going to say,
go back and watch my own videos to remember stuff. I don't have a good memory.
I do the same thing. So let me. You just got me off sidetrack here. So I get out a drone that I haven't flown in a while, and I go back and watch one of my old videos to remember how to fly it. However, talking about battery time, the one thing that Hubsan did right with their mini drone is that little Xeno Mini Pro. They advertise a 40-minute battery time, and it goes all of 35 minutes at least. So that's the one thing that they did get right on that drone.
Yeah, I haven't flown mine since last summer. I think I did a video after one of the updates, and I know they've had probably a half dozen updates since then, but is it any better?
Meh.
No. You were being nice, Marcus.
Yeah. No, I've had issues with it still. So, and I often, if they come out with an update, I'll throw up a video about it. And it's just not the one. Let me put it to you this way: if I'm going out to fly, well, in fact, I told you guys I'm going to take this trip up to Vancouver Island to fly drones. And no, I am not going to take a Hubsan drone with me. I'm going to take the DJI drones. I might take the Autel Nano, but I'm certainly not going to take the Hubsan.
sorry,
Hubsan. How much was that Hubsan too? How much was it?
I paid $650 for the one that I bought with 3 batteries, or was it 2 batteries? I think just 2 batteries, and it had the 128 megabyte or gigabyte, whatever, megabyte internal memory.
Yeah,
I believe the base kit was like $450 when it came out to DeMarco.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had my batteries go bad already on it. I only ever put one charge through it, and it just, you plug it in and it won't even charge. Like it won't light up or anything. I was gonna email them one of these days to send a replacement, but I don't fly it, so it hasn't really been a high priority.
There you go. Listen, what I will say about Hubsan is that I have posted some videos that weren't, that showed some issues, and without fail, typically they get a hold of me and ask me to send them the flight logs and so forth. So you have to say they are interested in, when there's a problem, they want to know what it is and how to correct it. So that, that's something, I guess.
Marcus, with that, like you just said, the price that Hubson was and the price of the Mini 2. That's why it just keeps it staying in my head that DJI is going to have two versions of this Mini 3 though, because I don't see how they would want to totally abandon that price point, because then you'll have people out there who don't know drones, and they'll look at prices and they say, well, I'll buy the Hubson.
I can't tell you how I know what I know, but there's only one.
Well, now there is. Same way with that Mini.
Yeah.
Well, so if somebody's looking for a real bargain drone, they can still buy the Mini SE,
Mini 2.
right?
Yeah.
Or the Mini 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I hear you say there's only one? Is that?
Yeah, that was Deal Drones' leak on Friday. Jasper's leak was there is only going to be one version of the Mini 3, the Pro. There will not be a standard model. That was his leak on Friday.
The inside scoop.
I've heard it from somebody that knows, and there's only one.
With the initials LD.
I have not even gone there. So you just stop.
What are the prices? Are they the lower group of prices that we've seen, or the higher price?
The price I read a little while ago. This was Jasper said on Friday. The $699 for the model only comes with the drone, the camera, and the controller. $949 for the flymore, and $1249 for the kit that comes with the advanced controller with the screen. And that's all coming from Jasper Ellens.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the reason I was comfortable saying that is that we've heard it in other places as well. But I'm telling you, there's just the Mini 3 Pro. That's all there is.
No, what I'm saying though is, like, I don't doubt that now. But a year from now, the same way how the Mini SE came out a year later, I'm saying down the line, possibly that. What I'm saying.
I think Shawn had a great example with the Phantoms, right? The Phantom 3.
Well, maybe if they release just the Mini 3, that's going to replace the CE, or the SE, I should say. Maybe that's going to be the replacement for it.
The Mini 2, you're talking?
No. So I think you're onto something, Shawn, because think about it this way. You made the point for a high content mini drone, and just like we saw with the Nano Plus, they're smart enough to say, okay, the first thing out of the box, we're just going to give that top of the line product. And then just like DeMarco is suggesting, maybe down the road, right? Then they say, okay, let's go down market and for the bargain hunters, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people in chat are doubting the optical zoom and the 60 frames per second. And I will, this is AliExpress that they got this from. So, you can take AliExpress's, details with however you want to, or whatever. They not always most reliable or speediest.
Maybe for a Pro model, it will have that. If they're labeling it Pro, right?
Yeah.
And if they do release something lower end down the road, then it wouldn't have those features. I have a hard time believing 4x optical zoom myself, but yeah, that would be pretty incredible if it does.
You know who that's going to piss off? The people that spent $5,000 on a Cine Mavic 3.
Hey, our good friend Stephen Ewing over at Islands agreeing with Marcus on that smooth 60 frames per second video.
Captain Drone's going to be pretty mad. I'll tell you
that. Yeah, so let's see okay, we've kind of covered a lot of this list here, and still it looks like everybody's pointing to that 4/28 date, April 28th, as the date that the Mini 3 will be released. And of course, in the US here, it still hasn't showed up on the FCC database for confirmation yet, but that could come the day before. It doesn't have to come way ahead of time. So, Shawn, are you still hearing the 28th as the release date?
Yeah, just what I've read on Twitter. But now Jasper did make an interesting post before all these leaks came out. I don't know if you've seen it, but apparently they issued a new label for the supposed Mini 2, like the certification numbers or whatever goes on those stickers.
Mm-hmm.
But he pointed out it was very interesting that because they give the dynamic or the measurements of it basically,
Yeah.
but it was too big to fit the current Mini 2. So he was wondering if that was kind of like, that was actually for the Mini Pro, but they're just kind of labeling it as something else right now, just to kind of keep everybody.
Yeah, that's been done before. Yeah, that's true.
So, that was kind of interesting what he posted there, and whether that's the case or not. But I just hope it's not one of those releases where we have to wait 2 or 3 weeks after the announcement. Like the Mini 2 was pretty well instant. You could buy it the next day or that same day, I think, in some
I think the same day. Yep.
Yeah, because
The
I ordered
Mavic 3 was the same thing. You could buy it that night.
Yeah, but the Mini 1 was really delayed. Like, I got it early because DJI did send it to me.
Which drone is that, Shawn? Sorry, I was talking.
The original Mini.
The original Mini.
Yeah.
But
I know they were delayed. Like people had to wait weeks, something like that. So hopefully it's not like that because I'm not a patient person when it comes to tech.
Normally they'll send out an email how many days sooner or before.
Like a week before. Like we should probably get something this week in the next few days. One thing I did notice is on the DJI forum, how they list, under all the different categories, all the newest firmware. They did remove some current firmware that was posted there. And usually they do that before they get ready to release new firmware. Anywhere from a couple days to a week before new firmware comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. Well,
interesting.
Very possible. Very possible.
And it was for the Mini 2. They removed, I think it was the Mini 2 and the Air 2S firmware.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hoping that means that they are, maybe next week going to release new firmware that's going to make it compatible with that new RC.
Oh,
they didn't remove the Mavic 3 firmware or the RC Pro firmware yet. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting.
So Shawn, you're saying that the new RC would work with the Air 2S, you saying, or possibly?
I don't know, but I'm wondering, like a lot of people are hoping that, right? Because that new RC would be a good alternative for somebody who wants a built-in screen, doesn't need the Pro features, but they just want something with a built-in screen that might be a cheaper alternative. And
here's the question I haven't seen anybody put up yet, and I'll put it out to the panel here. Do you think the new RC controller for the Mini 3 will be available as a standalone item?
I think it will be.
Right. I agree.
I think it will be. I think they're offering that. Are they going to offer that as a alternative to the RC Pro?
And what kind of price point do you think this new RC will go for? Considering the RC Pro is $12.99.
$400.
Oh wow.
Maybe even what's it in the US right now? $1,200?
$12.99 in the US for the RC Pro.
And what was the original smart controller? It was
I think it was $7.99 in the US.
$7.99.
Oh yeah, $7.99. $7.99.
I would say it's maybe $100 less than that. That's what I would put it at. Because it's not going to have as many bells and whistles, but.
And that's a great point. That's kind of how I was looking at it too, Shawn. Is what it needs to have is a high brightness screen.
Yeah,
that's probably the most important thing. But just maybe not all the buttons and features that the RC Pro has. And I got to tell you, I'd be all in on something.
Yeah, because
like
the biggest bell there is the screen. For the whistles, you can take it or leave them, right?
That's kind of what I just was telling Ron. Oh, go ahead, Shawn.
One thing I took a really good look at that photo, and the one that was leaked, the really blurry one where the woman's like, or man or whatever's holding it in front of the water. Like when I was trying to gauge that screen against their hands, like it looked bigger than the screen on the RC Pro.
I made the same observation myself. I thought the screen looked bigger. Yeah,
I was like, is that a 7-inch screen or
Can you imagine how mad the RC Pro people will be if this comes out with a bigger screen?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I
Yes,
didn't buy the
especially for a
RC
mini
Pro.
drone. But I don't know. It could just be the way the angle of it. You know, like sometimes you get those optical.
Yeah,
visions.
and maybe the controller itself is smaller, so the screen looks bigger on a smaller
Yeah.
controller.
That was the first thing that popped out to me is that, geez, that screen looks quite large.
Listen,
Yeah.
I was telling Ron right before the show, when I was flying the Mavic 3 yesterday with my 13 Pro Max, I flew 2 batteries through the Mavic 3. The first battery, yeah, it dimmed a little bit, but not too bad. By the time I got to the second battery, I could barely see what was on the screen on that phone. So that's where these controllers, and I was telling Ron, I came this close to pulling the trigger on that RC Pro. I didn't, but at some point I likely will, because we're just getting into the summer season. And I'm telling you, there's just nothing worse than not being able to see what you're doing.
You know, I had the exact same thing a couple weeks ago when they released firmware for the Nano. And I was making a video, and I was sitting in it was pretty cold that day, so I was sitting in my car. So there was no sun directly on the screen. So, you know, usually you can see it a little bit better when you're in shade, like not direct sunlight. And it was cold out. But I hadn't even finished my first battery, and my iPhone 13 screen dimmed right down to the point I could barely see it. And I was like, you know, like it's not even hot out today. Like, why is it doing? Usually if you're in the direct sun, you know, and it's hot, like the phone will warm up a lot quicker. But I'm like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Hey, let me ask you, Shawn. So do you typically do a screen recording when you're flying?
Not every time. Like if I'm just flying for pleasure, I don't. But yeah, if I'm making a YouTube video, I will.
Yeah, and so that's often, well, I almost always do a screen recording.
Except when we fly the Nano at the drone meetup.
Yet it fell into the water.
Shawn, you heard about our fiasco at the South Florida drone meetup.
I seen the video, the slow motion video that that gentleman made.
Capture Live Connection.
Yeah, Stevie, yeah.
Stevie made, yeah. But I know that puts extra stress on the processor in the camera, so it's creating more heat, right? But you know, still, you want to be able to do that, and you got to be able to see what the heck you're doing. I'm gonna experiment around, Shawn. There's a company that makes a little gel pack that you can put on the back of your phone that is supposed to be some kind of a heat sink. I don't know. I'm gonna try that and see if it helps.
Yeah, we have to get one of those fans, what are the HTC fans, or they're like a little motorized fan that you can put on the back, but I don't think it would really fit in the controller anymore. Yeah,
there you go. Then that's what airline pilots use iPads a lot, and they have that same problem, and so you typically get those fan mounts to help keep their iPads.
By the time you spend all the money on these solutions, you probably should have just bought the RC Pro. Marcus I let him fly the Mavic 3 with the RC Pro in the hot Florida sun. He stood right out in the sun. He flew for, you know, a good, 10 minutes or better, and you had no issues, right?
Yeah.
I was
I'm assuming, Marcus, you are going to buy the Mini 3. So is that what your plan is, maybe, to get the one with the controller?
Top of the line. Whatever their top of the line one, that's what I'm going to buy.
So that'll work good for you if they do make it compatible with the Air 2S or the Mini 2, or the Mavic 3, then you'll have that. You don't have to buy the RC Pro then.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. That would be so awesome. That'd be great.
The Z06 is calling you, Marcus. Go ahead.
Okay, so you're gonna get me off track here, DeMarco. Now the Z06.
Ron's gonna be mad at us. He's gonna scold us again.
I'm taking that Corvette up into Canada next week, and it's a grand touring car. It's got to ride pretty good. That Z06, you probably wouldn't have any kidneys left by the time you got there. So, yeah.
Well, testicles too. Yeah.
Oh, that's even more important. yeah.
Hey, but here's one thing I wanted to say. Maybe that was coming because, okay, when the RC Pro came out, it was $1,300, and then whatever months later, they were selling it with the Air 2S for a deep discount. Why? And we all said that then. Why did they sell it? I mean, like, I bought one.
I know you swept in on that deal.
Yeah, but why? Why was it so cheap then? Maybe this is the reason.
The only theory is they ran out of the smart controller ones for
That's the theory.
Air
Isn't it,
West,
Rod?
so they had to throw whatever they had in to
Yeah,
keep
that's
that
the
kit
theory.
going.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the real reason, but that's what we
Yeah.
said at the time.
Maybe
Yeah.
they also had surplus because nobody bought them at that price.
Good.
What I find interesting is that they put the Mavic 3 on sale already, because that's unusual
Yeah.
for put a new product on sale that soon after release. You know, usually that's like a year later.
Yeah.
I don't think they the sales were quite what they thought or were hoping for anyways.
Well, we all know what the problem there is, Shawn, is one of the Mavic 3, it should have been another Mavic 3 kit that included the smart controller wasn't the Cine.
Yeah.
RC Pro, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
RC Pro, yeah.
And that's interesting. You know, why didn't they release the Mavic 3 with this new controller that they've developed? You know, like, wouldn't that have made sense?
Yeah. So that is a fantastic point,
This
Shawn.
new controller must have been in development for quite some time. Like, it's not something you can just whip together in a few months. You know, so that's probably been kicking around their drafting tables for how long. So, like, you know, to me, that would have made sense. That would have, I think, enticed a lot of people to buy a base package, at least, you know, knowing that it's coming with a controller with a screen built in, especially if it's not a controller that's too costly. It wouldn't have cost DJI a lot of extra money to include something like that. Because that was really, if you watch all the early review videos, including my own, that was one complaint. It's like, how can we have a controller that has the exact same controller as the Mini 2? They're one of their cheapest drones, you know. So
Yeah,
by including a controller with a screen in it, I think would have appeased that for a lot of people. You know, it would have maybe enticed them to purchase it.
Yeah.
very good point.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like they messed it up and they're trying to fix it though. But like, no one who's buying a Mini 3 is asking for that. I mean, it's nice to have though, but for the people who bought the Mavic 3, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, it's like you're right, DeMarco. It's like they're trying to make up on their past mistake. They, where they released a premium drone with a base controller. Now they're releasing a base drone with a advanced controller.
Now, what could happen is that I don't know who said this. The Mavic 3S could come with that controller. I mean, you never know.
True.
Well,
true.
in that, remember, DJI made that statement back, I think it was in December. They were supposed to be releasing a package, non-Cine version that came with the RC Pro.
And it never happened.
And they were going to credit people who bought the Flymore combo and the RC Pro. They were going to give them some kind of credit, whether it be like a store coupon or something. They had posted that in their forum.
They did.
And I believe the package already went on sale like in China or Japan or something, but yet it hasn't come to North America yet or Europe.
Ooh.
And that's what it's been like 4 months now. They said sometime in the new year, early, I think, first quarter. So,
and I heard that package will be for China only now.
So they've backtracked on that.
Well, they even said that that's just what you hear, on the
Yeah,
internet.
I think I remember something about that as well. Yeah, that was like
they posted it right in the forum, and they stated that they were going to offer reimbursement. Like that was directly from DJI. So, like, where's that? That's several months have gone by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe the Mavic 3 people that already bought the Mavic 3, they'll just send them out one of those new controllers, right?
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
It just pop up in the mail someday. Yeah.
Ooh, look.
Yeah. And back to the release date of the 28th, the good thing about that date is, for people that live in the colder regions of North America, a lot of these drone releases and minis have come in the wintertime when it was hard to fly this type of drone because it was lighter weight, more prone to bounce around in the air, where for people in colder climates, coming out almost around May 1st, almost the perfect time. The weather's breaking. The winter winds are calming down. Is it windy where you live, Shawn, also? You get a lot of high wind?
Yeah, it's been really windy last couple of days. But on Wednesday this week, Thursday this week, we got a big break in the weather finally. We're up in we got some 20-degree days coming, so I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, like 70 or 80.
That's good.
Yeah, because right now, like, we woke up with snow this morning, and we're gonna get some more overnight. Like, it's been we have kind of been through a cold snap, but so yeah, I'm hoping the weather, because that Mavic 3 release was horrible. I hate winter or fall.
Yeah, you test
Fall
with that.
releases are nice because you can still get nice footage, but
Yeah.
you know, Canada in the dead of winter, you know, like, because some years we don't get a lot of snow. Everything is just brown and dead and, you know, mucky, and you know, it's really hard to test these drones out when it's like that. Or, you know, you're trying to make them look, you know, like, see what kind of footage they can grab, you know, but yeah, so I'm kind of liking that the weather will be a little bit decent.
Did you get a Cine, Shawn, or a regular?
For Mavic 3?
Yeah.
Just a regular.
Okay.
I was wondering that Cine, is that ProRes that big a deal? Now I understand if you are a professional, but I can't imagine anybody that is not really literally working for a movie studio or something
That requires ProRes.
Yeah, do they really need that ProRes? I don't know.
I think the biggest thing is it just gives somebody the option to deliver it to a client in ProRes if that's the format they need.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, with 8 or 10-bit color and that Hasselblad color, it's really good. Like, you can do a lot with it. You know, so I think from a lot of people, it's just if their client needs the raw footage delivered in ProRes, they're able to do it. But I don't know if there's a huge benefit to filming in ProRes. In fact, a lot of negative, right? The file sizes and in trying to edit it.
Of course, that being said, our current iPhones shoot
Gotta buy
ProRes.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Our current iPhone's shooting ProRes.
Yeah. Have you ever played around with it?
You know, I've been meaning to shoot something and edit with the ProRes and Final Cut, and I've never done it, Shawn, even though it's always an intention of mine to try it out. I mean, you know, outside my iPhone, I don't think I own a device that shoots in ProRes. So,
well, they get pretty large file sizes too. Like I have mine. Like, I never shoot in ProRes. I find the video quality just on the iPhone pretty good, just in the regular format. But
yeah, the .265 is you know, fine for all my needs.
Yeah. Even what's phenomenal to me is I made a video when I was out at the drag strip this weekend. I wanted to get a video of all of my teammates and so forth, and so all I had was this, and I just handheld it and did some movements, and even the stability on this thing, it makes you wonder, why do you need a GoPro? Because this just takes such fantastic video.
Did you ever watch my comparison? I did a iPhone 13 stabilization comparison against the Hero 10.
Yeah,
and
all that one.
It was pretty well, you know, it doesn't have horizon leveling, you know, in those kind of situations. Right. But, you know, just for everyday filming, like, it was pretty close. You know, GoPro's big problem is that, you know, for a lot of people who used to buy GoPros, was because cell phone cameras were crappy, you know, like, you know, so you wanted something decent. But nowadays, you know, for the average person going on holidays, people who would normally in the past would have bought a GoPro, you don't need to anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the one big thing I always throw in there is Marcus drops his phone out there. He just dropped a $1,300 device. If he drops his GoPro, whatever, even if it breaks, it's a $400 device. But guess what? It won't break. Yeah. You just pick it up and keep shooting.
Yeah,
that's the big difference. The GoPro's bulletproof. The phone's not.
The other thing, and of course, I know, Shawn, you're very aware of this because you do all your videos with your iPhone. But I even noticed I was interviewing some of my teammates, and when I looked at the footage, it almost had the perfect bokeh in the background. They were perfectly in focus, and it's all that computational photography that the iPhone just does for you.
Yeah. I'm really impressed. Like, on my channel, like, you know, when I'm going through comments and stuff, I get asked all the time what camera I'm using. People are shocked sometimes when they find out that I film with an iPhone, because you know, the quality is pretty good.
No, I agree. I think it shoots the best video of any device I own.
Yeah, it's pretty convenient. That's why I like, I don't film with a regular camera. It's just convenient. I can just airdrop it to my iPad to edit it, and
Yeah.
don't have to worry about lighting, and because it films pretty good in any kind of lighting conditions. You don't have to mess around with that. So
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, in fact, I don't have an iPhone, but my wife has a 13. No, sorry guys, I don't. But my wife has a 13. Well, back during Christmas, I had sent Marcus and Ron the link for that holder, that shift cam. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. The shift cam. Yeah.
That holder, like a DSLR phone that they said it turns your phone into. Well, I bought that for my wife, and last year, like we were using the Femi Palm for my kids' soccer games. She would hold that out. Like now, she actually uses her phone with that shift cam, and she loves it because she can hold it like a regular phone. I mean, excuse me, not a phone, a
The
camera.
camera. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
It's
she
got the grip
uses
on
it
it.
like
Yeah.
like that. Now it was expensive, but she's using it like crazy. Yeah.
You say expensive. It's under $200, right?
It was $150. So it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just a piece of plastic though that's just
Yeah.
shaped like a phone. No, and it charges your phone too though. But like she loves
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Femi Palm is in the drawer behind me too. Like we stopped using it. So
Yeah. Hey, what, I'll get off the iPhone in just a second. I know people are saying, why are you talking about iPhones at a drone show? So I did get a chance in Florida to try out what's the feature called, Shawn, in the current iPhone, where you take a movie and it focuses on whatever person's moving in the video, and that
oh
worked.
yeah, cinematic mode.
Yes, and that worked perfectly. I was in a place in Sebastian, and these people were dancing, and it would move from one person to another as they came, as were the moving person in the photo. It really worked really well.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish, and maybe with the Hero iPhone 14 this fall, they might up that to 4K, but it can only shoot in 1080 in that mode. That's the only.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, and again,
Which
one
is
more
fine
app.
for social media. Like, really, what more? You don't really
Yeah,
need 4K,
yeah.
but just I don't know. I like to shoot in 4K for everything, just to keep everything the same. But I tried to film a drone. I was doing some B-roll the other day, and it doesn't film drones very well with the propeller spinning. Looks kind of odd.
The frame rates. Yeah, well, one more quick Apple note, and I'll get off Apple. I saw that the most recent update to iMovie allows you to edit that cinematic video now, right in the app.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can change it around, to different focus points. If you don't like what the camera did, you could change it. You could change the focus yourself in post. So
yeah, they actually added quite a few updates to it. They have like the auto movie now,
yeah,
similar to like how the GoPro app works. And yeah, I was playing around with it the other day. It works pretty good.
yeah.
A lot of nice new features.
Okay.
And one thing, I don't know if a lot of people might not be aware of this, but when they released iOS 15, like this is kind of drone related because, like the Mavic 3 shoots in 5.1K, the Air 2S 5.3K.
Mm-hmm.
The iPad did not support that natively, right? Like you could
Correct.
import it into something like the Files app and then into your editor and edit it. But when they launched iOS 15, everybody was hoping that they would support the higher resolution video, but they didn't. But in one of the updates, sometime in January, I think it was 5.2 or 15.2, they now support those higher resolutions. They had kind of quietly added it. So
yeah,
that's
great. Yeah, that's a
good.
nice addition. Good call out.
Yeah,
So.
because just for previewing, right? Because it was kind of a pain. Like if you had a whole bunch of drone shots that were done in 5.1K or 5.3K, you couldn't preview them in the Files app. You couldn't. You'd have to open up LumaFusion or something just to see what they were. So
Right. That's a lot of work getting them in LumaFusion just to see what they were.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that is good call. Hey, Marcus segued into the GoPro a few minutes ago, and I want to jump on the GoPro story. Just last week, our friends over at GoPro released the GoPro Hero 10 Black Bone camera for FPV pilots. And what it is, it's a stripped down version of the Hero 10. and it also has a lot more airflow vents in the thing, in the case to prevent overheating. And you wire the thing directly into the drone. The drone battery supplies the power to it. It doesn't have its own independent battery, so it's kind of basic just for FPV guys, because you have to wire it in the battery, so you couldn't use it on a camera drone. But also we'll talk about software. Another thing that includes the key, which is $100 value for the GoPro desktop app that features the ReelSteady Desktop application. And I put the little video up on a promotional video up on DroneNation. If you could see what that application could do, the way it could study things, and also could take the the fisheye view out of GoPro footage too, just by moving a slider. It was amazing. You almost wanting, I don't have fly FPV, so I don't need the thing, but I'd almost like to get that software just because I was so impressed by it. Did anybody else happen to see the video?
You don't have to use it just for FPV, because I had a beta version of it long before they even GoPro bought it.
Yes.
Like, I was working with the developer, the guy that owned it.
Oh, really?
And that was long before people were even using it with FPV. So It wasn't really initially developed for that. It's just, they adopted it because it works so well.
Right.
But what I don't understand, do you have the GoPro Plus subscription?
I do.
Have you, because they sent me a license for the ReelSteady, because normally you have to buy it. I've never purchased it. It just said, here's your free upgrade. So it was in my spam folder. So check your spam folders, because I think a lot of people were getting free upgrades to it.
Now the way I understood it, Shawn, is if you purchased ReelSteady when it was its own company before GoPro bought it, you'd be grandfathered over and be able to use the GoPro version of it. But I think I specifically read that the GoPro subscription doesn't include ReelSteady.
Yeah, I don't know why I got it, because I've never purchased it. Years ago, when it was still I think even before it was even released to the public, I had a copy of it, but it was never a license. He was just sending the software out for testing. So I don't know why they sent me the key for it. It just said, here's your free upgrade. So I thought maybe it was something to do with, because I was a GoPro Plus subscriber, that they were sending it out, but it was in my spam folder. I just happened to catch it a couple of weeks ago.
I'm going to go look right now, Shawn.
Yeah.
You were pretty impressed with the software?
Oh, yeah. Because like I said, I've used it in the past for some things. It does a really good job. The new version is much more advanced, right? Like you said, you can just with a click, you can get rid of that distortion in that. Mm-hmm. But I kind of have a theory about the black bones that they've released, because to me it just makes no sense what they've done. But I kind of have a theory. I'm wondering if it's I don't know. I have to develop my thoughts more on it. But really, the release of it just makes absolutely no sense financially. Why they would do what they're doing. Why release that? I know if you're an FPV pilot, that's was a great release. But drone flying in general is a fairly small hobby. And then when you take the FPV aspect of it, it's a pretty micro niche, right?
Yeah.
How many of those are they going to actually sell? And considering they're the same cost as a regular GoPro Hero 10, if somebody is going to buy one, are they going to buy that to save, a little bit of extra weight, or are they going to just buy a full-fledged GoPro? That way they can use it with other things. So it just doesn't make sense with what they've done.
Shawn, the way I understand it is the bones is $50 more than the regular Hero 10.
Yeah, I think regular $399 if you're a GoPro Plus subscriber.
Right.
Yeah, and you're right. You can get the Hero 10. That's for what,
$349 if you're a subscriber.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. To me, why they didn't release something like a new version of the Session, but more geared like the Action 2. Fix some of the problems that the Action 2 has. There, they could have still sold it for the FPV pilots, and had that ReelSteady built into it. But then you have the market of everybody else, because really that FP black bones, you have to have an external power source. It's not like you can, use it because it's a nice light camera to put on a helmet or something because you have no power source for it.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, well, you're
I
making
think
good.
it's kind of an experiment on their part, and that's why maybe they're only doing it as a U.S. release. I think it's going to be, sometimes companies will release products like that, but it's more of an experiment for something bigger coming down the road. So I'm wondering if, they're going to be using the, almost like a test.
Yeah. Do you think possibly GoPro could be coming out with their own drone that'll use this camera?
I can't see them coming. If any kind of drone, it would be just a regular drone. I can't see them coming out with an FPV drone because, again, you're really limiting your market. And then, then you got to deal with all the crashing and having to sell parts for it. And
yeah, true.
But yeah, I just find it was a really bizarre move on their part.
It did catch everybody by surprise, that's for sure. And I, to what you were saying, I even saw a lot of FPV pilots say, I would just rather had a new session.
Yeah, exactly. And that it costs so much, and it's not waterproof. It's just a lot of strange for what they've done. We knew there was a new product coming because they said that they were going to release 4 new cameras this year.
Yep.
So everybody figured that first camera was going to be like a session style camera, just improved, brought up to date, better, good stabilization, the screen built in. Or my camera's still turned off here.
And you're right, that new session would probably be a better seller than the Bones.
Yeah. Well, it opens up the market, right?
Yeah.
But GoPro hasn't been known to make some good, they've done like bizarre things in the past too. Like with the Hero 7, they released that Hero 7 white and silver and the Hero 7 black, those 3 versions all at once. Like each one, I can see them having a low cost one and a higher cost one, but why that middle one?
Yeah.
Like 3 tiers of a GoPro, to save a little bit of money. Like it didn't make sense. And, they were discontinued right away the following year. They didn't,
Well, I can tell you, having come up through the corporate world, glad to be retired now, but something like that, I guarantee you, looked really good on a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not joking.
Yeah. Especially look good in that PowerPoint that people that don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, one more quick topic, and then we'll wrap up the show. DJI, previewed a wireless microphone system all the way back to the end of last year. One of those ones where the components come in a self-charging box, and there was a lot of built-up interest in it as soon as they announced that Marcus has a similar system there with the Hollyland, and the Rode Wireless 2 comes in a box like that too, right? But anyhow, so there's a lot of interest for the thing, but it was delayed. It was at one point they had a release date of January that got pushed back. Then there's a release date of sometime in March or something that got pushed back. But finally, I think it's officially released now. That's not to say that it hasn't been on back order already for some people, but some people did get it already who just ordered it when it was released a couple of weeks ago for real. And I've watched Billy Kyle's review of it, and it seems to be a pretty amazing system. I don't have a wireless mic system like that, but I mean, for all the bells and whistles, like the self-recording and everything, you don't even have to connect with the transmitter. Shawn, have you looked at this system? Is this something you'd be interested in that would be in your workflow?
I would like to order it, but it's not available in Canada yet. Like if you go to the DJI website, the Canadian version, it still says, like reserve now, like it doesn't have the buy button. If I switch to the US version, it pops up that you can order it, but it's back ordered. So they haven't released it officially in Canada yet.
So that's what's frustrating to me. I would have hit that buy button already, but when it says it's not available till the end of May, I'm thinking, well, why don't I just wait till it is available and then I'll buy one.
Yeah. And the day it was released, I went on the Canadian Amazon and they had them for sale there, but they were going to be delivered on April 22nd. So I thought, well, I'm not waiting that long. I'll wait for them to appear on the DJI website, but they never did. So and now when you go to it, it just says not available. So I really wish I had just bit the bullet then. But I thought, I would get it sooner if I had waited. But
How much is it? How much is it?
$329.
$329. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really not a bad deal because this Hollyland sent this one to me, and I really like it. It's just like what you're talking about. It's a whole kit.
What
right
does that
at the top.
retail for, Marcus?
This one, that's just why I brought that up. I think this guy is like $379. So I think that and that DJI system is better. What this one will not do is you cannot record to the transmitter like you can with the DJI product. That DJI thing, it sounds like the real deal.
And I think Billy said the Rode 2 is $299, so it's a little bit more expensive than the Rode 2. And Billy did a sound test between the Rode 1, the Rode 2 system, and the DJI system. And the DJI, sounded the best. I mean, it didn't sound, worlds better, but it did sound better than the other the Rode systems. And he was showing stuff like he could swipe on the touch screen of the transmitter and change settings, and I couldn't even follow all the amazing stuff he was doing in his review.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see a wireless Go from Rode version 3 coming soon.
Right.
Marcus been looking for that for years.
Charging cases now, Rode doesn't, so they're going to want to stay competitive. They're known for microphones. That's all they do, really, right? So
yeah,
I bet you will see an updated version in the next perhaps a couple months, because that's been out for a while. The version 2 has been out for quite a while.
Quite a while.
Yeah. Shawn, do you have the Pocket 2 with the creators kit with the wireless mic that's included?
Yep.
Yeah. How do you like that?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. They actually, DJI does a really good job with audio. The Action 2, like, I cannot get over how good the audio is on that, especially when you're using just the camera module with its one single microphone, tiny little microphone, but it's got really good audio. I've been using it quite a bit for some of my B-roll, and I don't even hook a mic up to it when I'm, well, you can't with just the camera module, but the audio to me is that good that I don't need to have that extra bulk. DJI has done a really good job with their audio. To me, it's way better than a GoPro.
Now that the Action 2 is on sale a little bit, I mentioned earlier that the base kit was $319, and I think the advanced system is $479 right now. I think at GameStop again. Is it now that the price has dropped a little bit? Is it more of something you would recommend buying?
I like it. When I first reviewed it, I was kind of on the fence about it, and I said, like, it's not really an action camera anymore. Like, in my opinion, it's not a full-fledged action camera. There's better options if that's what you need. But yeah, I've really changed my opinion on it. I hate to admit it, but I almost use it more than my GoPro now.
Oh, wow. And
I have a video that I'm working on. It's going to be like the 6-month kind of review of it. And it's more of I'm kind of going over, it's hard to explain, but if you take a look at the camera and, come at it at a different angle, if you compare it more to something like the Go 2, and you're using it more as a point of view camera, or, it's just very versatile. It's really light. It's, somewhat durable. I've dropped it a few times. I haven't broken it yet. I've put a big dent in it, but that's about it. I've actually really been enjoying it. And the audio was great on it. Like,
Have they made a lot of improvements with firmware updates since it was first released?
Yeah, they've added some new features. The horizon leveling, or horizon balance, I think it's called, what they call it now. That that was a big thing, because quite often I have it on a head strap, and that horizon balancing just makes it nice so your video is always level. Like if you're trying to capture B-roll of you flying or something, you don't have to worry about it sitting a little bit crooked, and so yeah, I've been actually quite pleased with it.
Good.
I got a question, Shawn.
Hey,
So,
Marcus, can I read you just for a second? Mike Wright sent us an update in the chat. He's actually sent it to you, Marcus. He said, I download the Go Player ReelSteady free through my GoPro Plus subscription. It's installing now. So, Shawn, you were correct.
yeah, you get it with your
Yeah, you were correct about the ReelSteady with your subscription. Mike Wright just did it.
I'm definitely going to download it for sure. I
Yeah,
mean,
I definitely am too.
that's a
Thanks for pointing
no-brainer.
that out, Shawn, and Mike. Thanks for doing the testing for us.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, I just received this email and it just said that here's your free key to the new download or the new release that they just.
Shawn, you saved a lot of people $100 tonight.
Hey, and if I understand that correctly, so it uses the metadata from whatever camera you're using. So is it just specific to GoPros, or will it work with other cameras?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
But I know GoPros include a lot of extra data that other cameras don't, just for, part of the editing, like with their quick editor, it tries to detect certain things. Yeah, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you, Shawn. So one of the biggest things that I've heard was a negative on the Action 2 was that if you're shooting with the camera and you then have to download it to the SD card, and that takes some time. Has that been resolved somewhat?
Yeah, they did speed that up, but what I do is I just write to the app to my iPad because it's actually pretty fast. So I don't even switch it to the memory card unless I don't have anything with me. But I always have an iPhone or something with me, so it's quite often I'll just download it through the Nemo app. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
Now,
okay, there you go. Yeah.
My phone's saying low power. It might cut out on me here.
Well, we'll wrap up in a minute, Shawn.
But the thing is, and I've learned this over the years, is I don't film for an hour at a time anymore. Like when I'm doing a YouTube video or something like that, then yeah, like you might have a 20-minute clip or whatever. But if I'm out, at the beach with my family or something, and I know I want to get some nice footage to make a video, I just, capture small clips, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, because, otherwise you end up with, like, I've got hard drives full of footage from 10 years ago that are, I've never done anything with because it gets too much. Like when you've got, hours and hours worth of footage to go through. But if you come home and you've got 20 clips that are all 30 seconds, it's easy to throw them into an editor and, so I tend not to over record anymore. I keep clips short when I can, so that's what I mean with the Action 2, depending on how you're using it, for a point of view camera or just a secondary B-roll camera, it works beautifully for that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't overheat, because if you're not recording for an hour at a time, you don't have overheating. Has never been an issue.
True. Hey, listen, we're going to wrap up. Let's get one more quick story in before we leave. I want DeMarco to tell the story about there's again a new football league formed here in the U.S. I think it's partly owned by Fox. The USFL kind of harkened back to a football league in the 80s, I think. And in the very first game, they used, I guess it was, I'm going to let DeMarco take over. I guess it was the FPV camera that flew around the players. Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Marcus,
yeah. From what I saw, in that clip that I sent you, it looks to be excuse me, that drone, but I wasn't sure if it's a Cinewhoop or not. I don't think it was. How fast it was flying, I don't think it was. I mean, but
it came down out of the stands and flew
Yeah.
right by the players. They were kicking the ball off and went down to the guy that caught the ball.
Yeah, again to follow them.
At like knee level or whatever.
Yeah, but you know what? Now that you said that, though, it's close to the players. I bet it was a Cinewhoop. With those ducted propellers. I bet it was, though, because that's dangerous. What if that thing,
Your star player is out for the season because he got hit by the drone. Yeah,
imagine that. I mean, but it was a good angle. Like we've never seen that before. In fact, what actually happened in that clip, I think a linebacker actually picked up a fumble and ran it back 90 yards, and he's a Florida State grad, by the way. But
shameless plug here.
It was a nice clip though. But what Ron and I were saying, currently NFL is not doing that. But if people like it though, they'll steal it from them definitely. So.
Yeah, it's like actually being out on the field, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were right in the huddle, Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks for that. Thanks for suggesting that story, DeMarco, and sending it out. One of those things that you really found interesting. And that guy must have been a heck of a pilot. That wasn't you flying that, was it, DeMarco?
It actually was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
We just can't say. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. DNA. Sorry.
Yeah. DNA. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up. Shawn's running low on his battery power and his phone here. We've gone an hour and a half here. And I think we covered a lot of territory and ground tonight. Unless anybody else has anything else they want to throw in that we left out or didn't say.
Well, just one more topic, Ron. I'm just kidding, buddy. we're done.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody that joined us in the chat. Saw a great group of people out there tonight. A lot of great comments and suggestions and questions. I love you guys out there in the chat. And I want to thank our special guest tonight, Shawn from Air Photography, for joining us tonight. I knew he was the perfect man because he's been getting the Mini 3 information out there as good as anybody. I enjoy watching his updates and whatever. And I hope you'll rejoin us again after the Mini 3 is actually released.
Definitely. Thanks for the invite.
Put it through his paces.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Thank you very much.
Are you sure you don't have one, Shawn?
I wish.
Shawn's the only person we can ask on tonight because everybody else has the Mini 3.
Yeah.
And DeMarco, thanks as always for your being on the show with us, helping us co-host. And next week, it may only be DeMarco and I co-host the show because Marcus will be on the road with the Corvette up in Vancouver Island or whatever. So hopefully he can appear as a special guest at some point during the telecast.
Ooh, Ron, like we getting wild next week, Ron. Woo, man.
Yeah, the caps are off next week.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a big show. So we gotta get show planning right away. So Marcus, thanks for of course being the big part of this show, co-hosting with us, and we're gonna miss you being here. Full time next Monday, but we really hope you have a good time up there. We hope you get some great footage, and you will be in Canada when the Mini 3 is released. Is that correct?
That will actually be my last day. It'll be the day that I'm actually leaving, and I'll get on the ferry and go back. I think I'm going to take the Port Angeles ferry from Victoria back to Port Angeles. And trust me on this, the first Best Buy I see, I'll be stopping in to see if
now are the sales taxes better in Canada than the US, or are they worse?
Not in BC. Now in Ontario it might be different, but I'm telling you, BC, I've already been warned that you don't want to buy it there.
Okay.
Mention Ron's name, it'll be all right.
That could be, but to your point though, I'll be going across into Washington State, and Washington State is much better. I think their sales tax is when I lived in Seattle, and this is 20 some years ago, it was about 8.6%. So,
Well, why don't you scoot down to Oregon and get that 0% tax?
Go down to Oregon and it'd be a 0. Yeah,
we're 15 in Ontario, 15%.
Oh, wow.
I've heard it's worse in BC.
What's that?
I've heard it's worse in BC. I heard that they'll have like local sales taxes on top of what the provincial tax is, and
it's good to have free health care, but we pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of tax day, if you didn't get your taxes mailed out or whatever, you got a few minutes to do it, I guess, and at least on the East Coast. So,
all done there.
Yeah, I was at the post office today too. So,
all right, come on. What do you mean you were at the post office?
Office. You got to do it digitally.
Yeah, electronically.
Yeah,
we always thought you were a tech guy, Ron.
I don't. Well, that's how the accountant set up. I just do as
what's
I'm
his
told
number?
There. Just do as I'm told. So, good night, everybody, and get out there and fly safe. And we will see you back here next Monday.
Good night, everybody.
And we'll hit the slow end the broadcast.